Berserk is one of my favorite manga series of all time, and it's for a good reason. It combines bloody action and badass characters to create a symphony of gory goodness, but it's more than that. At points, it can tell a tale of abuse, pain, and a quiet intimacy that most stories can't convey to its readers. And this is probably the point where you think I'll go off on a massive praise for the manga, which I do think it deserves, but it simply isn't the point of the video. This is only about the tale of a boy and his resolve to beat fate. From Guts' very birth, he was struggling and fighting to survive. Dropped from his mother's hung corpse, he was found by a mercenary band and was taken in by one of the women in the band. As he grew, he became accustomed to bloodshed and was taught by his father figure and mercenary band leader, Gambino. Gambino broke him down and taught him how to fight from a very early. As many years pass, we see the evolution of Guts as he fights on from group to group and eventually joins Griffith's Band of the Hawk. This marks a turning point in the story of Guts as we finally see him connect with others after the disaster.
I don't want to die. For me, that is the only reason I keep fighting. There is nothing to save myself for or give myself to. I fight because I know nothing else. Once I was willing to do just that, to commit myself to fighting, and let anyone else find a reason for me.
Guts.
Anyway, I imagine this all sounds pretty dumb. I'm sorry I brought it up. I'm not even sure why I did. It's pretty pathetic.
So am I.
This was obviously played to a greater effect in the 1997 anime than the manga, and was mostly due to the use of the soundtrack. Composer Susume Hirasawa put together the 1997 anime's music, and goddamn was it used well. The music I've been playing in the background the entire time is actually known as Guts' theme, and it plays several times throughout the 1997 anime during the most important parts. But it's emotional because it has strings of piano being played amidst distant singing, and it represents the eerie yet tranquil emptiness of Guts' life. It shows how Guts isn't always angry or filled with hate. He's just a deeply broken man who is always wandering alone, looking for a purpose with his blade. This is where Guts' story and comfort in his own world takes a turn. As Griffith becomes a member of the God Hand, Guts continues to fight and lash out against him, unlike his friends in the Band of the Hawk who accepted their deaths. As Casca is violated by a newly created femto, we see him even take his own arm off in a violent rage, a decision he would later regret. This raw explosion of emotions that Guts conveys demonstrates the rage of one man building up to this very moment where his closest comrade becomes a god and attacks the woman he cherished deeply. Soon after, the fabled Skull Knight saves Guts and Casca, the only survivors of the eclipse, and they are taken to safety. As they recuperate, Guts goes back into a rage and runs into a field fighting back spirits while in a bloodthirsty rage, calling out for his comrade Griffith. This is where we get to see a beautiful panel of Guts lying in a field, giving a parallel to when he was a child and laid in the field as well and contemplated his life. This can be seen as Guts. Guts soon gives into his rage and begins fighting apostles for 2 years, and he leaves Casca in that time span. He also becomes armed with a prosthetic limb with a cannon attached to it and continues to struggle after becoming targeted by these aforementioned beasts. This is also where we get to see the unyielding and constantly struggling side of Guts as he continues his fight against Griffith and his followers. But as we follow him, he begins to lose his anger, and he eventually grows into a person who doesn't hate and only fights to keep his friends safe. An amazing moment that demonstrates this is possibly one of the most moving moments in the manga. This scene here. Kentaro Miura's use of line work conveys the frantic movement of Guts and his rage almost perfectly, and as this speed and movement slows down, we see him come to realization as he stops dead in his tracks. This is regarded as one of the first few moments where Guts actually chooses to care for Casca and his friends over his hate and rage to kill Griffith. These scenes are far and few, but besides those few isolated moments, post-Eclipse Guts is a broken man who struggles to fight and is extremely lonely in his quest. Parts like Guts comforting Jill with the simple phrase, "There's no paradise for you to escape to," really do intensify this feeling of loneliness that Guts felt during the entire 2-year span of killing for his quest. Miura attempts to paint Guts as a raging being of destruction and won't be stopped by anything, but that's the entire point of his character. He's supposed to have a cruel exterior to hide the true interior of his cold and lonely self that most people don't get to see in the daily world of Berserk. But as he grows and evolves as a character, he begins to find new friends, and one chapter in particular really sets Guts off on this path of uniting with other friends, and that chapter is known as Cracks in the Blade. Cracks in the Blade sets itself off from other chapters near it by taking a deep look at Guts and his mental state rather than him taking a deep cut into some monsters. This chapter starts off with Guts returning to the home that Casca stayed in for nearly 2 years while Guts was away. It opens with the girl Erica working away and suddenly noticing Guts, first overcome with terror at the beast that Guts has become, but quickly comes to her senses. Guts speaks with Erica and she mentions Casca's disappearance, which makes Guts enraged that they haven't tried to even look for her. But Erica points out the hypocrisy as Guts hasn't tried to search for her in nearly 2 years. Afterwards, Guts talks to a dying Godo who examines his massive sword and notices the many cracks and damages within it, comparing it to Guts' mental state. After talking with everyone, Guts becomes compelled to make changes in his life and find Casca and bring her with him. Let me say that I absolutely love this chapter, as it explores a theme that most stories wouldn't even try to do, this being the idea of a character's mental state and reason for even fighting or continuing their journey at all. It also brings in the idea of Guts realizing that he hasn't even tried to help Casca at all, or tried to even help her cope with the eclipse in this entire 2-year span. As the story continues and Guts amasses more and more unlikely allies, he begins to lose this feeling of loneliness and hate as he realizes that revenge would never fill the hole that his friends just filled. And as the boat arc went by, extremely slowly, he came to another land that actually helped Casca, and soon enough, after many years and a lot of hard work, Casca returned to her normal self and retained her skills in weaponry and tactics. But as soon as she returned to Guts at last, she remembered all the horrible memories that came with Guts' face, of her friends dying and her idol violating her. This brings back a lot of grief into Guts, and the pain he felt that day during the eclipse came back to him. This is where another interesting parallel comes in of Guts resting up against a tree, standing near Casca as she talks to him. The Golden Age scene resulted in the two having a heartfelt conversation about their lives and soon making love to each other. However, the scene from the recent chapter shows the attempt to reconnect, but the barrier being the eclipse, holding the two back from achieving some sort of happiness together on the island. As Guts and his party reach a town later on, Guts reminisces on his old friends and looks at his new party, contemplating with a straight face. He sees his old comrades from the Band of the Hawk in them, and states simply, "I used to think that it'd never be like that again." This easy-to-miss moment really captures Guts' journey in a simple phrase. He found friends again, and finally found a reason to keep fighting, besides it being the only thing he knew. It soon becomes obvious that he grows to like his new friends, and that truly, this time, he won't lose them like he did before. Yeah, I didn't really plan anything for this part, so just thanks for watching, and just tell me what else you would like to see next. Alright, goodbye guys.